So the talk today, just let me remind myself of the title, is The Body is the World. The Body is the World. Non-duality with Lisa Cairns. So what does that mean? So wherever you go, whatever you do, there's always something that you take with you. And we can call it presence, we could call it consciousness, we could call it that amness, the beingness, the sense that this is, what is, this moment, now. So whatever you do, wherever you go, there's always this moment. And this moment can't leave you. You can't get out of it. You can't be like, hang on, I'm just going to switch off from this moment and be somewhere else. Be in the future or be in the past. You're always in this moment. Maybe you daydream of the future or maybe you daydream of the past. But ultimately you can only ever be here. That's only a daydream. And you never get to turn it off. Like from the moment you wake up in the morning to the moment you go to sleep at night, you're always here in this moment. Like, me, 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 me. Even if you're like walking through the forest and there seems to be like forest and scenery passing you by and you seem to be going to new places and new adventures, you're still always here. Right here in this moment, in presence, in aliveness, in consciousness, in amness, right here. So no matter where you go, no matter what you do, it's always this, no matter what. And to me, that's it. That's all these teachings, non-duality is trying to teach you, is a reminding of who you are, which is this moment. What you assume is that you are a body that's in relationship with the world. So you assume that you're a subject and the world is an object that you're in relationship to. And that there is distance and space between you. And what you feel is that you're always moving from moment to moment. So you've left the next moment and you're moving into the next moment, you're moving into the next moment. And the next moment comes with different scenery or different experiences. So walking from the kitchen to here, your mind tells you that the walking in the kitchen and then walking to here is a different moment. You're in a different time. And so you assume that you're walking through a world that's still there when you're not conscious of it. So that's the assumption that our mind tells us. Our experience tells us something completely different. Our experience, our direct experience is that all there is this, is what's happening, this moment. So beyond our imagination, beyond what we know intellectually, what we've learned, what we think about, what we imagine, your direct experience is here, this is it. But we overlook that and we believe what our mind says. We believe that there was a last moment that you've come from and now you've arrived in this moment. And you really believe that there's still a kitchen or a room outside this room. Even though you can't ever look at it, even if you run and jump and quickly look out that door, it doesn't mean that you've caught it. You'll never know what exists when it's not existing. You'll never know what's there when you're not looking at it. Your experiences, if you come back to your direct experience without thinking, without ideas, without presumption, your direct experience is that it doesn't exist. There is no room out there. There is no world out there. And that's incredibly simple. There's only this. That's what animals are dealing with. Even though they have some form of intelligence which is managing some form of timeline, they're only ever dealing with this because they can't think or imagine something else. Their brain isn't big enough to be able to create these complex images and timelines and cause and effect. They're kind of very much just in whatever they're doing, and then there's some form of instinctual patterns which carve their way through life. But in the moment, they're only doing what they're doing. They can't imagine that in the last moment they were doing something else. I can assure you that Khaleesi is just dealing with life. My dog Khaleesi is just dealing with life as it presents itself. So when she's chewing her bone, that's all that's happening. She's not like, I wonder if there's another dog on the other side of the fence chewing a bigger bone than me. Have I got the biggest bone in the world? Or is it small? Am I lucky or unlucky? Big bone, little bone. Big bone, little bone. Am I better or worse? Better or worse? She's not thinking about that. She's like, and that's her experience. Completely in the chewing, in the moment. So why is it that humans take what they think over their direct experience? Why is it that they believe more in what they think and what they know intellectually than what their direct experience is? I think, my feeling is that is what creates all suffering in humanity, that we believe that thinking is more real than reality. And we take thinking as king, as God, as higher, and our experience is absolutely irrelevant. It's like, you just sweep that under the carpet and ignore it. I also think that in some way, we've become so dependent on thinking that we kind of feel we're safer if we live in a land of thoughts than if we just trust this moment and drop into the body and let life act us rather than our mind and our thoughts and our self-image always trying to control it. And I think that's untrue. I think it creates a lot more suffering, a lot more insecurity, and a lot more problems. I think that most humans in this life really suffer, but because fortunate or unfortunate, because I got into this subject so young, I can't really remember what it was like to be without this subject. So I don't really socialize with people that aren't into this subject. I'm not really interested in socializing with people that aren't open-minded, and doesn't mean that they have to be into this subject, but at least questioning their perception of reality. So I don't really know, but I suspect, and from looking around and observing, that I think that most of humanity is really, really suffering. They're really in a lot of stress, but they might not know that because they're in their story of what's happening, and their story of what's happening might be not, more than likely, is not telling them that they're in stress. It's more than likely telling them that it's because this is wrong, or that's wrong, or you've got to do this, or it's going to happen, or that's going to happen. So they're most probably really deluded to what they're actually experiencing. So how come it is that I say, so back to the point, that the body is the world? So if we come to our direct experience, so if we take this experience, what's happening as king, rather than what we think's happening as king, all there is sensory experience. So you know what's in front of you. So I'm looking at cliff, I'm looking at rain, lots of pluie, tree, arbre. Where's that cow? This is a very challenging time of my French learning. I feel like I'm mastering a lot of words, but sometimes they get muddled up. Arbre, tree, rain, window, computer, light, myself. I can see myself in the computer. There she is. And I can see my water bottle and my computer. So that's a sense. So everything you see is a sense, is your sense. Like you're not seeing outside of your seeing. You can't see what's not here. You can imagine, but in physical realm of sight, you can't see what's not here. And we assume that the seer is inside the brain and that you're a seer, you're some sort of soul or entity inside the brain, and that you're controlling all of this and that you're looking at things that are out there. But if you come back to your direct experience, there is simply seeing. So that you're looking and the looked at are one and the same thing. And there's not actually somebody or something that's looking at these. It's empty. There's nothing where it starts. Like, so if you point the finger this way and go that way, there's no back to it. There's not actually something in there that's looking out. And there's not a place in the world where looking stops. It's like looking stops here and the object starts here. How would you see it? The seeing has to see all of it. So you could say in sight, everything is inside your looking. Everything is inside your looking. The same with hearing. Actually, it's not even inside. It's just that there's no boundary. It's just there. Sight and the looking are the same. But we'll say inside just for those that need a bit more imagination. Or for those which they're listening from their second language. Like, my God, I can't imagine how you listen to non-duality in your second language. That is really respect. I really respect anybody out there listening in a second language, and I apologize. I sometimes go so incredibly quick. Learning a second language now, I'm realizing it is really, really something to learn another language. Okay, back to the point. So hearing, let's have a look. In the direct moment, the direct experience, where is the difference between the hearing and the heard? Like, where does your hearing start? And where does, say, the rain, I can hear the rain, where does that start? So my hearing starts, my hearing ends, and the rain begins. Or is it that my hearing and the rain are one and the same? And come to your direct experience and experience that and see that. Don't take my word for it. Do you ever hear something outside of hearing? Therefore, everything is inside hearing. Everything is hearing. So the body and the world are one and the same. The body is the world. Okay, smelling. I currently can't smell anything. Okay, my hand smells of rubber from Okay, my hand smells of rubber from the hot water bottle, but that's a real stretch. I feel like my jumper smells more, but I won't sit there and okay, so rubber. So then if you shut your eyes to smell something, what is the difference between, in this moment right here, between a smell and the smelling? And who is smelling it? Who is smelling it? So now let's go to feeling. Feeling. Boo boo. Feeling. So now your bum is on the seat, your back is on the seat, your feet is on the footrest, or the feet are on the floor. So now if you shut your eyes, where is that point between the feeling and the floor, or the feeling and the chair? How do you know the difference between your skin and the chair? And who is experiencing that? Who? Who let the dogs out? Who? Who let the dogs out? Who? Who? Okay, what other senses are there? We've done touch, we've done sight, we've done smell, eating. Oh God, that one becomes orgasmic. So please take your drink. You can either take a cold drink or a hot drink, or if you have food, you can also do it with the food. Place the drink in the mouth, like so. And where is the difference? Between the taste and the drink? How do you know the difference in the experience? My gran used to do that before she died. She had dementia. And whenever she ate or drank something before she died, she shut her eyes like it was really orgasmic, like, and took in every moment of it. It was really sweet. She didn't die so long ago, my gran. I think it was 2013. She was 95. And she got dementia in the last few years of her life. I didn't know her very well. She lived up in Scotland and I just didn't see her that much. But she became super sweet when she got dementia. She wasn't one of the people that gets very angry or bitter or has lots of psychological issues. She just went really mellow and really sweet. She'd always had a lot of stress throughout her life. And when she got dementia, she just totally gave up and became like a child. I found it very endearing. She was like a completely different person. I remember like I took her up some chocolates when I went up to see her, or some biscuits. And while we ate the biscuits, that had to be silent. She was just like, and she just totally loved every moment of it. So the senses. So then, okay, we could say that the mind, the imagination is a sense as well. So notice with all your thoughts and all your imagination, they indicate a past, they indicate a future, and they're imagining about all things that aren't here. But if you really look at thinking, it's always happening here. It's not actually talking about what you think it's talking about, and it's not actually fact. Like we believe that what we think is fact. It's something that's coming and going. It's coming and going in this. So even the thinking is here. But we're so attached to it and identified with it, we really think it's real. We really think that the idea of the room next door is real. That's the belief within society that that is real. We can't see that it's only a thought and an image. That's not truth. What were humans like before they developed this complicated language, before they could say there is a room outside? Maybe they could imagine it, but they wouldn't be able to have really complex thoughts about imagining if they're better or worse than the room outside. Is this better or not better? How would they do that if they can't speak? So it doesn't mean that what we think and what we speak about is reality. It's just thoughts coming up. And this is the most amazing part, is who you think you are is a thought. So you think that you are a thought. So you're somebody that was born a certain day, that's got certain qualities, that feels certain things, that has particular stories, that's done certain events, has a certain amount of money, has a home, lives somewhere, has a nationality, yaki, and you think that's you. But notice that just comes and goes in you. That's not the fix. That's not who's looking out. That's always changing. Another thing of who we think we are is we think we're the chooser inside the head. So we think that we're the one that's got the ability to choose things and to move attention. But actually, if you really look at it and really study it, you'll see that there's just a description of choosing. There's a description of moving attention. And then again, you've identified with that and taken it to be reality, that that's the way things are. Where that's not the way things are. So the body and the world are the same. Okay, I've spoken a lot. I shall take some questions.